Hello, everyone. My name is Tim Selden, president of the Montessori Foundation. I'm here with my friend Clint Lausch from Ames, Automated Independent School Marketing. Um, and this is our weekly webcast called Finding the Perfect Match. Today's topic is creating engaged families. It's a topic we like to talk about from different angles because you and I know it's really all about relationships. Marketing a school largely depends upon satisfied parents telling their friends. So, to the degree that we can get the people who are part of our school to fall in love with us, to see us as something other than a service industry to which they pay a lot of money begrudgingly, but rather see us as part of the family, something that's very near and dear to their hearts, something that they would leave with tears in their eyes. That would be the ideal. And so what we want to talk about on this particular day as we begin another North American school year is sort of the whole issue of how do we create that sense of community, that sense of engagement. Clint, I see that you've got your video monitor off. You want to jump in and say anything about Ames?
Yeah, thanks. And I was just moving around the office here, but yeah, thanks again everybody for hopping on for the next session. And yeah, with Ames, it's a big portion of our platform, which is an all-in-one marketing and admissions platform. And we've also had to build a great partnership with Montessori Compass on the classroom management side to give schools finally an all-in-one solution. And part of that all-in-one solution is creating creating relationships with our prospective and current families through communication. That communication can be done through automated communication, segmented communication. So all of that plays such a huge role, and um, sometimes it's really hard to kind of keep up with who should we reach out to, who needs contact, and that's why we have our software to help manage that, make sure families don't fall through the cracks. You can see your communication history. You can even have our platform build profiles of your ideal families and the type of messaging you should utilize. So again, that's how it's software, and it's how the software helps you manage these communications. And with a lot of what Tim's going to be getting into, I know Tim, you're going to be talking a lot about relationships and building those relationships. And if software can help enhance those relationships, that's what our goal is.
So you basically run a software company, and how can they find you if someone doesn't already know who you are? Like I see my friend Tiffany is here. Hi, Tiffany. How are you?
Hey,
How do
Tiffany.
they find you, Clint?
Yep, just put in the chat. It's getames.co. Um, there you'll find all the marketing and admissions related modules that we have as part of the all-in-one software. If you're a Montessori school and you want to have a true all-in-one solution that incorporates marketing, admissions, classroom management, and parent communication, you go to montessoricompass.com/growth suite, and that will share everything that we have all in one platform. So yeah, you can find us in a couple spots depending upon type of school you are and what you're looking to do.
Great. And I might mention that I'm not sure if the recording is taking down what I'm seeing in the automatic notes underneath, but it's not spelling Ames correctly. It's spelling it AMES. And in
Oh,
reality,
that's right. There's the live captions. Yeah, it's AIMS. So get Ames AIMS.co.
there you go. And got .co, not .com.
That's correct. .com brings you to a weird website.
Okay. All right. Well, so today what we're talking about is creating that stronger sense of community. Again, this is a repeated theme that we look at in different ways. And today I'm going to be talking about some more building blocks of how do you create community in a school. But the idea, as I've said many times over my career, is we're trying, regardless of what kind of school we're running, whether it's parochial, whether it's a nature school, whether it's a Montessori school or a school for children with special needs, wherever you are, we want to create a lifestyle experience, something where families feel profoundly connected to the people of your school, fellow parents, the children of those fellow parents, in other words, their children's fellow students, the teachers, the administrators. The ideal is they feel like this is family. And that's what really makes independent schools work. So we want to create a culture that makes people feel welcome and gives them a feeling of being seen and belonging. There's nothing worse than being, for example, a family of modest means, maybe a family of color or another minority that's in some big prep school and they feel like I'm the token. Like nobody knows my name. Everyone sort of begrudgingly accepts me here. That's not what you want. You want a feeling of incredible warmth, of hospitality, that everyone in this school is important, is valued, and where it's okay to just be you. It's safe. We certainly want that for our children. Everyone wants to feel that whether their child has a special need or whether their child is in a faith-based school or a Montessori, everyone wants to know that the kid is happy, that the kid is loved, that the teachers are kind. So one of the ways we do that is we as the administration have to communicate with parents. We have to do that in a way that does not feel like we have a broomstick stuck up our back or something. We want to come across as incredibly warm and kind and open, transparent, want to develop or appreciate community traditions, such as potluck dinners and celebrations, family, volunteer activities, whatever. We want families to feel that this is a place where they can get involved if they want to. We also want to avoid using guilt if they don't feel like that's their thing. The whole idea is we accept you for who you are, which doesn't mean everything is okay. Families that come around and scream and yell are frankly not welcome in most schools. But what we want to do is give parents a feeling that they are certainly, we've chosen each other, we want you to be here. We also want the families to feel like they can predict what the school's all about. There's not going to be any sudden surprises. So letting them know, who are we? How do we make decisions so that all of a sudden we're not closing down the high school or announcing that, the school is doubling its tuition or something crazy. People need to feel they know what they're dealing with in our school. So we want to engage parents because it's really about relationship between us and the parents. Many times teachers really wish the kids came without parents, but that's not the way it works. Kids have parents, maybe one set of parents, maybe two sets of parents. If there's been a remarriage, I mean, you can get extended families that are pretty big. The bottom line is we want the parents of the school to feel that they are welcome and that we care about them. We know who they are. We appreciate the sacrifice they're making. And we would like them to feel safe here. So we want to create and explore approaches to encourage parents to become engaged and to become our partners, our collaborators. One way traditionally schools have done this is we hold some kind of parent education events. Usually these are either book discussion groups or workshops of some kind. And, many, many people talk to me about the fact that it's hard to get parents out. And in part, that's because they can think of other things they'd rather do than be at your school. They'd rather be watching TV. They'd rather be reading a book or paying bills or talking to their artificial intelligence or whatever they're doing, putting their kids to bed. Being with you is not necessarily their thing. And quite often parents resent the idea that we're going to invite them to be educated because they already are educated. They usually are people who are very well connected and educated in the world. And they're saying, some 25-year-old is going to give me a lecture on how to raise my kid. That is not necessarily something that goes down well, which doesn't mean that we don't offer experiences. We just got to figure out another way of explaining it. So if you're a Montessori school, you're going to have Montessori workshops. If you're a school about working with children with special needs, you're going to have workshops that are appropriate for that population. It's stuff that really makes sense to your parents. Things that interest them is what you want to be doing. And we would argue you don't just do that for your current parents, if for past parents, you do it for prospective parents. You open this stuff up to the larger community. We also invite people to think about how does it feel if you're a parent to come to your school, whether it's that first parent back to school event that almost every school has, or whether it's something you do every week or every month. I mean, they're coming to your turf. They're going to go into your building and be under those little fluorescent lights, and they're going to sit their big bottoms in chairs that may not be their size. And they're going to sit inside of a classroom, which is not their office, not where they feel like they're the ones in charge. And they're going to sit there and while you talk at them. And many parents do not find this pleasant at all. So again, if we really want to do it, what we want to do is find a way to make parents feel at home, that the room is comfortable, that the investment of time, maybe investment of money in a babysitter was well worth their while, that they're getting something valuable out of it, and that it's a good experience. So whether you provide, refreshments or entertainment or whatever you're doing, make it the best you can make it. I'm the head of the Montessori Foundation, so I often put these things in Montessori perspectives. But regardless of what kind of school you work at, you want to talk about who your school is, why you do what you do, how you do what you do, and you want to address topics that are appropriate for the population that's gathered around your school. So again, if you're a nature school, if you're an international school, if you're IB school, whatever you do, you want to have topics that really fit in with what your parents want. Make them feel comfortable. You want to create volunteer activities where parents can get involved, and that could be going in the classroom and serving as an assistant, having the children read to you. You might be working in the garden. There are all kinds of things that schools get parents involved in, serving on committees, task forces, self-study teams, whatever. Most parents are not really sure about how to parent. They may act like they've got it all under control, but quite often they're not really feeling that secure. And so anything that helps them to feel like you're helping them to become more effective parents without making them feel small and stupid is really great. Parents love the opportunity to talk about, kids and what is really great and what causes them anguish and frustrates them. So we want to help them with experiences that give them a lot of satisfaction, a feeling of this was time well spent. That can include dealing with your kid, how to get your kid to do what you want them to do. It can deal with, helping them to prepare for college, learning about money, learning about the stock market, or teaching them grace and courtesy, or what you can bring into your home that will help you to raise a happier child. You want to set up days when parents can observe the classes at work. Some people do this once or twice a year. Many of the better schools do it on a regular basis so that parents can come in pretty much whenever they want to see what's happening in the classrooms. And that's, by the way, how we ultimately have gotten so many Montessori teachers is parents come in and spend time in the classrooms to the point where they fall in love with it. So Making the classes accessible to parents is a good thing. Going beyond that and setting up days when parents feel like every child is bringing a parent to the school. You can do it as like, let me show you how I work kind of event in the evening or during the school day. You can again offer parenting guidance, which is everything from how to set up your home to how to talk to your child so your child will listen. You can encourage parents to participate in a parent ambassador program, which typically means you have a parent that's been with you for more than a year, and you invite those parents to mentor new families. And what they do is they become like big brothers and big sisters. They remind parents of upcoming events. Don't forget we've got a workshop coming up or the special community meeting, whatever it is. Um, and they become someone that parents feel they can call if they've got a question. We want to foster two-way communication. That would mean that to do that, we have to let parents know what's going on. We give them updates. We have a newsletter. We may be using an app. We may be sending out videos. But the bottom line is we don't want parents discovering that something has happened and they didn't know about it from anybody until it was months after the fact. So communicating whatever is important as soon as you can in a way that feels transparent is a really valuable thing. You do need to keep in mind the issue of respecting everyone's privacy. So we can't talk about why that teacher resigned and took a better job somewhere else. We can't talk about why we let a teacher go or why we closed a class down or why we asked that child to leave or whatever. There's so many things where we just can't say anything. So we've got to be clear about what we can do and what we cannot do, but we want to reach out and communicate in the way that is appropriate and legal as soon as we can in the best way that we can. Another thing we want to do is create forums or places, opportunities for people to come and be heard. And that can be, coffee and conversation, parent council meetings, listening forums, all kinds of things, surveys. You want parents to feel like you're really trying to hear what is it that you all are experiencing, what is it you want us to know in the administration office. The other thing you want to do is you do want to respect boundaries within the official channels. Like you don't necessarily want to be giving out your cell phone number. You don't want to be encouraging the teachers to use their personal cell phone. Some schools may, but generally speaking, most teachers don't want that. They don't want to call from an angry parent at 9:30 at night. So we have to have a plan of how do we communicate with parents and how do we make sure parents feel like our staff is communicating well without putting our staff on 24/7 duty to respond to whatever a parent wants. We want to celebrate children's work and we want to celebrate children's growth. There are a lot of ways that schools do that, including setting up student-led conferences, having exhibitions or celebrations of learning where the kids do either a science fair or they talk about this is what I've been working on for the last month. Um, we want parents to feel like we're giving them a snapshot of what's really happening inside of our classrooms. And also in our magazines, our newsletters, or in just talking with each other, I want to share stories that feel authentic about what's happening in our classrooms, what we're seeing. And this can be done in so many ways. It can be done by you writing essays about the school. It could be parents just sharing what they're seeing on a particular morning. Whatever, you want to find a way to break down the barrier between home and school because so many parents don't feel like they don't know what's going on all day long. We want to encourage active participation. Want to have classroom observation, want to have opportunities for parents to volunteer if they want. And again, we want to use parent ambassadors. We want to do fundraising because let's face it, tuition is not likely to cover every single expense you've got. Even if you are, you're probably going to have to do it by charging enough that you're able to set money aside and bank it until eventually you have enough to put up that new roof or put up that extension on the main classroom building or whatever it is you want to do. So fundraising is normally going to be part and parcel of what you'll do at the school. We certainly recommend that you create school community meetings. Opportunities, it could be you have a parent organization. It could be you create an open forum where parents come and they just talk about whatever they're interested in. And that doesn't mean, again, that there's just an open season. There's certain things you can't talk about. They can't use that as an opportunity to yell at the school. They can't use that as an opportunity to say, tell us why that teacher resigned, because you're not able to speak about that. It's the teacher's confidential information. But I do think it's a good idea to have these community meetings. So again, what we're trying to do in creating engagement is we're trying to create a culture of welcome and belonging, which is built up of warm communication between you as a school and your families. You want to really nurture traditions, things like dinners and celebrations and school holidays and family work days, things where people get involved. And then you want to be transparent about the school's values and about your decisions. So if something is happening, ideally you want the parents to know what's going on as soon as you're able to let them know. And that's the end of the slideshow. I'm going to stop sharing. And let me just see if anyone has anything that you want to ask or share. Any experiences, anyone?
This has been great. Thank you so much, Tim and Clint. One of the things that we have found is that, as we all know, retention is key. And so one of the things that we did a few years ago was have our division directors reach out to families right before contracts go out. So they have calls with families at the start of the school year to welcome new families, but then they also do another round of calls in I think it's either late December or early January, just to check in and see how families are feeling, because at a school like ours, families may not have already bought in to the process yet. And so it's an opportunity for us to just check in with them before those contracts go out.
Well, that's certainly good advice. And many schools will do something before the contracts go out. I would say the best practice is to engage with families much more often than that. And there's many, many ways to do it. I mean, most schools have conferences between the teachers and the families. That will typically be at least 2 evenings. And there may be a PTO or a parent organization, parent club, whatever. And that for some people is it. But today's parents tend not to come out, whether you're in the middle of a big city like New York or Chicago, or whether you're out in the suburbs, parents don't like to come out anymore. So we got to figure out, not everyone's going to come out. So no one thing will work for everybody. But I think it is important that parents know that there are lots of opportunities, and they really have to know, because just sending them an email, they'll typically say at the end of the year, I never knew how to get involved. I never knew what opportunities were available to me. I just didn't know, which is where the parent ambassador comes in. Because there's nothing more powerful than another parent who calls you up and says, "Hi, Tiffany. My name is Tim Selvin. I'm a parent ambassador from our school, and I am the parent ambassador for our classroom. And I have a kid there, and her name's Michelle, and I'm here to welcome you into our school and hopefully be a resource to you during your first year with us. I'll call you up before any event and just remind you of what's coming on, see if if you're able to join us, answer your questions. You can call me anytime. And again, I'm not an agent of the school. So if you ask me a question, I don't know the answer, I will tell you how to get the answer. Or if you prefer, if you're uncomfortable making the call yourself, I'll call on your behalf and I'll call the main office and I'll say, I was having a conversation with Tiffany and she seems to have this question. Maybe one of you could get back to her. Anyway, reaching out early and often is a good thing, and recognizing not every parent cares. So they don't feel guilty if they don't want to drink the Kool-Aid and become a lifelong member of your school community because they're not that into you yet. It's okay. You can't make them love you, but sure can make them feel welcome. Anyone else? Clint, you've been doing this for a long time. Any wisdom you've got to share?
When you were talking about parent ambassadors, um, there's two ways that I've seen schools engage parent ambassadors really successfully. One is actively, and again, I come from the perspective, especially of prospective family marketing, right? So it's also how to engage your ambassadors for prospective families, and really create an amazing partnership from the beginning. Now, one of them is actually the process of getting reviews and running review campaigns, um, which you might say, well, how does that engage, create good parent partnerships? By actively getting parent ambassadors involved, just by having those conversations in a formal way, it gets everybody on the same page, saying the same thing, and maybe saying the same thing in their own way. But I found that nothing can help get parents on the same page, get them engaged, and when everybody's kind of they have the same view of the school and about all the positive attributes. Where I see challenges, especially with parent ambassadors and engaging them, is they're all saying like different things. I don't know if that makes sense, but uh, they're 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 giving not necessarily giving different perspectives, but different, just yeah, different messaging. And that if you can engage them and say like, look, here's what we're looking to promote, here's the types of families we're looking for, it helps them. The more guidance you can give them, and then help having them write reviews, having them even reach out to family and friends. I found that works really well. And then along those lines, having those ambassadors be a part of the admissions process as well, where prospective families that are further down the funnel, if you will, engaging with, hey, why don't you talk to a parent? And you have a formal way to connect prospective families with parent ambassadors. I've seen that work really well. So maybe from a little bit different perspective, especially when it comes to prospective families. But um, I think having a really great parent ambassador program can do wonders for the school.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate you mentioning the use of parent ambassadors in the actual recruitment process because there's no more powerful way to do it than to have a kid or a group of kids or a present parent or a past parent or a teacher. In other words, the more people get the sense that people of this school are really good people, they're welcoming, they're kind, that I can see myself here. The bottom line is, people approach a school and they often don't really know what to expect. They feel kind of awkward and embarrassed and, ambivalent because it's so expensive. And they kind of wish that you would just go away and leave them alone. But ideally, what we do is we make them feel so much involved in the school that to them, you are a strategic partner like their brother or sister. That's the ideal. And I think this is especially true for schools that have a very deep moral basis or schools that are really doing something to create, a support system. Schools that, for example, are working with children who have special learning styles, who need extra support. Man, those parents are usually hungry for support network. Same thing is true of faith-based schools. Again, not every faith-based school is made up of members of the faith. Many Quaker schools, for example, have very few Quaker families and Quaker teachers. However, if you keep looking at what are the commonalities, what's our common ground, you can make people feel really, really at home. What you don't want to do is have parents feel like they don't fit in. Like, why am I here? So again, if you were in a Quaker school or a Jewish day school and everything is aimed at the assumption that you're one of them, well, and if you're not one of them, you're going to feel pretty creepy. On the other hand, if you really create a welcoming atmosphere where they really feel like, I see you, I am so glad you're with us. I'm not here to change you or convince you that you need to drink the Kool-Aid and become a lifelong member of our tribe, but you are welcome here for who you are, and your kids welcome here. That people really want that. And conversely, the last thing in the world they want to do is pay a lot of money and feel like the opposite is the truth, that you don't want them. That's terrible feeling. There are a lot of country club schools in this world where there's an in group and an out group. You, in my opinion, you want to avoid that like the plague. So again, we're creating incredibly kind relationships. Anyone got anything else to share today, or is this going to be a short day?
Might be a short day, so.
Could be.
I would just add this one more uh, piece of or maybe a tip suggestion. So we're excited about this year. We ran a survey a few years ago with our families, the ISM survey. So it was a cultural assessment, and parents shared that the certain percentage that felt a bit disconnected from the community, but also just wanting more information. So we're an LD school, and one of the things that came from that survey is we have a school culture team that worked on different aspects of the survey, and one key aspect was family education. And so they worked on putting together a guidebook for learning disabilities. And so all the different key terms and terminology. And so they explain what it is, explain how we address it at our school. And then we also give advice on how families can implement strategies at home. So if it's like executive functioning, what is that? How we address it at the school? And then what can you do at home? Is going back to what you shared, Tim, about giving families some guidance. And what we're planning to do this fall is unveil this document and go to an evening event and talk about all that we're doing at the school, and to say, all right, here's your guidebook to talk about learning disabilities. So we're really excited about that, and it's going to happen this fall.
Well, I think the other thing is, again, so often when you've got learning disabled children and parents of learning disabled children, they're all going through some kind of experience of mourning. I mean, it's a heavy burden to carry. And there's so many people in this world who come to independent schools who who are carrying a heavy burden. It could be that they're of a faith and they feel like they need to be with people of the faith, but they're looking for relationship, for connections, for an opportunity to be heard, and for a sense that this school gets me for who I am and what it's like to be a parent of one of these kids, or really sees my kid and really appreciates my kid for who she is. So again, there's so many different kinds of independent schools, schools for a single gender school, or schools that are very welcoming of children that are very quirky and different from the norm, maybe LGBTQ, whatever. Uh, every one of those is an opportunity to not only support the child, but to also support the family. And I think that's where the really the good stuff comes. And I mean, if you want to think about it from the point of view of institutional advancement, $1 million gift to a nonprofit school is an incredibly irrational act. And it's something that's given normally out of love. And that love starts with this kind of thing that we're talking about. It's the way you treated me, the way you treated my spouse, the way you treated my kid. This made all the difference in my life. And I don't care if you're a Montessori school and you're little, or if you're a really, really big international prep school. It doesn't matter. Every one of us has the same opportunity to create that feeling of we are a community, we're family. So I think it's the message is culture and focusing not only on the children who we serve every day, but their parents, and understanding that the kid comes with those parents and grandparents and other siblings and the family dog and so forth. The more we figure out ways of having them feel connected in a way that goes beyond the swag, the buy the Gilman sweatshirt and put the sticker that says you go to Sidwell Friends School in the back of your car. I mean, all that's good, but we really want to hit them at a heart level. So I know that one of the things that is true is in this particular webinar, we often have people like you, Tiffany, who are involved in admissions and support of families. And ideally, what we want to do is reach this out beyond us and get our head of school involved and have them increasingly think beyond budgets and cash flow and board meetings and grants and whatever to understand how this all fits together. And conversely, we want the teachers to feel it and the kids to, and the more we create a tapestry of relationships, every thread cross connected, the more likely we are to get to the deeply engaged experience that we're trying to get. Melissa, I know you're here. I imagine you're eating lunch, but I'm going to invite you if you want to turn on your TV and jump in before we sign off for the week. Any experience from your little Montessori school? Nothing for Felissa. How about you, Margot? It's okay. All right. Well, I think I'll call it for this week. We love you. We appreciate you. We see you. And we look forward to seeing you again on Thursday if you're going to be with us. Clint, remind me, what is this Thursday's Independent School Leadership Forum topic going to be?
So today was about partnerships with families. Thursday is going to be difficult conversations with families. So, when those inevitable conflicts maybe come up, or you have to have some of those difficult conversations, how do you do that in a great way? Yeah, so that'll be a good one.
Hopefully we'll see some of you on Thursday. If not, remember these recordings are put on the Montessori Foundation website. All of you who register for our webinars and workshops, we send you the recording and any handouts that we create. And typically there is both a PDF of the slideshow that may be useful to you in trying to say to your people, this is what we talked about. We also send you, of course, the link to the recording. And there often is an article as well. So again, we'll see you hopefully on Thursday. If not, we'll see you next week or as soon as you're able to come back and join us again. So again, this is Tim Selden and Clint Lausch for Finding the Perfect Match. Thank you for joining us this week.
Here, everybody.
Bye.